Week 3 inside the federal courtroom, and the atmosphere had shifted. What once felt like a legal proceeding now carried the weight of a reckoning. The judge stricter, the media silenced, and Diddy still walking in each morning with that same unreadable look on his face. But behind closed doors, the courtroom wasn't calm. It was getting crowded with stories, because this wasn't just about documents anymore. This week, people spoke with growing attention online and courtroom sketches circulating like wildfire. The judge had enough. A partial gag order, quieting the attorneys, witnesses, and anyone tempted to turn this trial into clickbait. Even a few reporters were warned after audio from inside the courthouse leaked online. Court officials made it clear this trial wasn't going to be won on TikTok, and then came the daily routine. Diddy, black suit, dark sunglasses, arrives flanked by his legal team. He never looks back. He never speaks to the crowd. Inside, his face never changes. But the stories swirling around him, they're anything but silent. By midweek, something shifted in the room. It wasn't just what was being said, it was how it was landing. There were side glances from jurors, stolen notes between defense attorneys, and one moment, barely noticed, where a federal agent leaned forward as if bracing for something bigger. The tone no longer procedural. Now it felt like the start of something unraveling. Week 3 wasn't the loudest week in terms of headlines. No shocking outbursts, no surprise arrests. But behind those wooden benches and sealed folders, you could feel it. Something was coming. A moment where secrets that once whispered through the halls of music industry mansions were finally going to echo inside a federal courtroom. And if the courtroom was quiet, the witness stand, that's where the noise really began. Because next, people who were once behind the scenes stepped right into the spotlight. The insider. She didn't come in with cameras waiting outside. No press conferences, no legal entourage. Just a name that had quietly followed Diddy for years. A former assistant, one who knew where the cars were parked, which rooms were locked, and more importantly, who went into them. She told the court she worked for Diddy during what some call his golden years, when Bad Boy Records ran the charts and every night ended in a penthouse suite. But behind the champagne flutes and platinum records, she described something very different. It wasn't just parties, she said. There were rules and roles she claimed certain women were assigned to be available. That there were private rooms off limits to staff where music executives, celebrities, and sometimes even political figures would meet. And according to her, some of those meetings didn't end well. One of the courtroom's quietest moments came when she described a woman who allegedly came out of a locked room crying. She claimed it wasn't the first time she saw that happen. It became normal, she said. Like part of the job, the defense immediately objected. But by then, the words had already landed. The jury didn't react, but one of them, according to court sketches, closed his notebook and just stared. There was no live stream, no dramatic outbursts. But when the assistant stepped down, even Diddy's legal team looked rattled, not because of what she said alone, but because of what she hinted was still to come. Names, dates, video locations. It was like she had lit a match, and everyone was waiting to see where the flame would travel. But if she peeled back the curtain, the next witness, they claimed to have lived inside the house. The fixer. If the first witness pulled back the curtain, the second walked through the door and locked it behind them. They didn't work in the studio, not in the tour buses or fashion deals. They worked in the cleanup crew, not for music, not for parties, for damage. They called them a logistics manager. But their job, according to testimony, had less to do with logistics and more to do with silence. They told the court their phone would ring late at night, not for music emergencies, but for situations. Situations involving hotel staff, situations involving bruises, situations involving large sums of cash in brown envelopes. We just made things disappear, they said. That was the job. According to this witness, NDAS weren't reserved for business deals. They were allegedly handed out after certain nights, after certain guests left. One claim stood out. A woman allegedly flown in for a party who left with a broken phone, cash, and a plane ticket out. She wanted to go to the police, they said. But the fixer had been instructed to make her understand what she'd signed. The courtroom went silent. Not even the sound of typing from the stenographer for a moment. When asked how often this happened, the witness didn't give a number. They gave a calendar, events, launches, house parties. They alleged the same blueprint repeated itself. Outsiders brought in, phones taken, party filmed, payments sent out the next morning, not once or twice, dozens of times. Then came the most unsettling part. The witness claimed video recordings existed. Not leaked footage, not social media clips, private recordings. Some allegedly kept as leverage. Some, according to them, stored in a vault known only to Diddy and 2 others. The defense objected again hard, but the jury had already heard it. "I have seen tapes," the fixer said. "Some people would pay anything to keep them buried." By the time they stepped down, the courtroom felt heavier, like something big had shifted. But it wasn't over, because the next witness didn't work for Diddy at all. They were on the other side, a former party guest turned accuser. And their story wasn't about cleanup, it was about survival. The guest who never came back. She wasn't a bodyguard, not a manager, not an insider. She was just supposed to attend one party, one night. But what she described in court didn't sound like a party at all. It started simple. A friend of a friend, a whispered name drop at a club. "You should come. Diddy's hosting." She was flown out 2 days later. No idea what to expect, just that the rules came before the address. Leave your phone. Don't bring anyone. Say nothing after. It felt more like an operation than a party, she said. The party downstairs was loud music lights, celebrities. But upstairs, no phones, no cameras, no laughter. She testified she was offered drinks immediately. Told to loosen up, told everyone goes through this the first time. Then, she said the door closed. She described things that can't be repeated here. Things that made even courtroom reporters look away. She said she woke up in a robe that wasn't hers, on a couch that wasn't clean, with people she didn't remember arriving with. There was no party happening anymore, just quiet. And a man standing near the door holding her phone. "You good?" he asked. But it wasn't a question. It was a warning. The envelope was handed to her in the car. Cash, a flight itinerary, and an NDA already filled out waiting for her signature. She didn't sign it. She said she kept the cash. "Not because I wanted to," she told the jury, "but because I was terrified not to." So why testify now? Why speak up years later after headlines and settlements? "Because I kept waiting to hear someone else say it first," she said. And finally, someone did. She never used the word trafficking, but the prosecutors didn't have to. The jury had already heard the pattern. The defense tried to poke holes. They pointed to her past, her social media, her choices, but the courtroom wasn't listening to her Instagram. They were watching her eyes, and they weren't blinking. Next, a name the industry knows well, but this time, not for music. Receipts they weren't expecting. Up until now, it was words, testimony, accusations, memories blurred by trauma. But in week 3, the prosecutors stopped talking and started showing. Exhibit A, the ledger. It looked like a business spreadsheet. Nothing criminal about that, until you read between the lines. Code names, wire transfers, unusual expense labels like comfort arrangement flights, discretion and extras, confirm silence. One name kept popping up, SCA name also heard in multiple testimonies. The defense objected immediately. The judge let it in. Exhibit B, the messages screenshots, time-stamped, undeleted. Some from Diddy's own number, others from burner phones traced back to his circle. One message simply read, "She's cool, just make sure she don't remember much, like last time." Another, "Put her in the quiet room, give her what redacted gave K." That message was shown while witness 2 sat on the stand trembling. Exhibit C, surveillance missing. There was supposed to be security footage from a particular night in 2019. The cameras were working, motion was detected, but the file corrupted. Only one segment survived, a 37-second clip showing a woman entering the upper level at 2:11 a.m. She doesn't come back down on camera. The prosecution didn't play the video. They just stared at the defense table. Exhibit D, the bag, seized from a private jet earlier this year. Inside the bag, it had 3 burner phones, 2 international passports, 1 USB drive, $47,000 in mixed currency, and a small envelope marked "Property of Love Records, do not open." They opened it. Inside, a set of Polaroids, time-stamped and blurred in court. The judge cleared the gallery. Even seasoned reporters described them as deeply disturbing. The defense called it unlawful seizure. The court called it relevant context. Exhibit E, the hard drive, encrypted hidden in a studio wall, discovered during an unrelated IRS audit, recovered by digital forensic experts. What they found, a hidden folder named VIP Nights, dozens of audio recordings, a guest list with real names and nicknames. One recording allegedly captured an argument between Diddy and a woman. She says, "I didn't say yes." He replies, "You didn't say no either." The room fell silent after it played. Week 3 wasn't about proving guilt. It was about pulling back the curtain and showing that the stories might not just be stories. That wraps up the explosive testimonies from the 3rd week of Sean Diddy Combs' federal trafficking trial. With shocking accounts from those once close to him, the courtroom drama shows no signs of slowing down. Stay tuned as this high-profile case continues to unfold, revealing more details that could change everything. If you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you don't miss any updates. Drop your thoughts in the comments which testimony shocked you the most. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next update.